I have given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Batman of Gotham.
You don't really think you'll win, do you? I'm Batman.
Hey now, you are listening to.
Hey now.
You interrupted me there.
I think I did because I think we need.
You missed one damn podcast camping, and you come back and they're trying to hijack this show already.
I just think we needed
Go
more.
sit in the corner for a minute.
We needed more enthusiastic. Hey now, you had a really good one on the show with Paul.
That was a good. I listened to Howard Stern today. That was a good. Hey now,
it was a great. Hey now, they've been a little lazy lately. That's all. I'm just saying.
Hey now,
There you go.
Hey now, you are listening to episode 98 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor, as well as a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows at BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. I got to figure out what we're going to do with that, with BOF 2.0. Justin, maybe we just link to it or make a new page for it.
Yeah, we'll actually make a new page with
okay.
It'll look pretty.
Okay, cool. Usually this is when I ask Ryan Haas to give us a suggestion from the podcast network, and unfortunately Ryan is not here because he has to work. While all of us are at least have a few minutes today to jump on and do this podcast. So shout out, Ryan. We miss you.
What up, Ryan?
I am the host of this here podcast, as well as the founder and editor-in-chief of Batman on Film. I am Jett Ramey. With me today is just one of the great BOF roundtablers, and that would be Justin Kowalski. Hey, Justin.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm glad to be on because I really missed out on that Two-Face episode.
How was, I'm going to ask you about that in just a second, but how was Vegas?
Oh, yeah, Vegas was cool. You know what? I haven't been there in a long time, and there's this new thing down there called it's like the Fremont District, and that was... Yeah. Oh, man. I had a great time. Had a buddy
I have not been to that location, but...
Oh, man. It's pretty bananas. So, it's fun.
Cool. All right. And with me, almost always, is the co-host of this podcast. That would be Rick Shew, who has become a professional camper in the last week.
I have.
Hi, Rick. How was that camping experience, sir?
Well, we weren't camping. We were camping. I didn't pitch a tent. So we stayed in a cabin. But it was still roughing it for, a city folk. And I'm not really much of I love outdoors in terms of, I love going to the beach. I love going hiking, things like that. But I'm not a fisherman. I don't hunt. I don't camp. And I don't have anything against it. I just don't do those things. And so I was a little bit of pardon the pun here, but a fish out of water. But, it was, there was a dad that was there that could fish, and he was teaching my kid to fish, and I was watching that. That was cool. And yeah, we had a great time, man. My daughter rode a horse, and you would think, oh, she's from Texas. She probably came out of the womb riding a horse. No, I don't know. I'm
playing to that stereotype.
Right. No, that's actually not the case. So that was cool. And it was really fun, man. The dads were, look, I'll be honest with you. There were a lot of dads there, and I thought, am I going to get along with all these guys? Not like, is it going to be contentious, but is this just going to be boring? And these were great guys and a lot of fun. So it was cool. And we went to
the last time, huh?
We went to Possum Kingdom Lake, which I've never been there. And of course, that's one of my favorite Toady songs. And I was
about to say, every time I hear Possum Kingdom, it reminds me of the Toadies. But
isn't that like the only Toady song?
No, man. First of all, that whole record's great. Granted, they only have, I think, 2 or 3 records, but those are local Dallas guys. So
okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's what's cool.
Still playing it. I know that. I've seen them. I haven't seen them in live, but I see them advertised for gigs locally up in Dallas every once in a while. So
yeah, they're still big on the local scenes. They're just not the national like they used to be.
When's the last time you actually slept in a tent?
1984. I don't know. 4th grade, 5th grade, somewhere in there.
Jeez.
I don't remember. I think
I have no idea.
85 or 86. I was in college, maybe.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't camp either, man. So
I camp
Justin, you camp? You're a camper guy?
Every summer we camp up near the beach near Santa Barbara, and it's fun.
But see, that's different. You're like camping,
like cabins, like cabins or tents.
I lay out a tent and I put it together with my bare hands. And we cook on fire, and then we walk over to the beach.
See,
that's walking into the mountains.
Well, that would be cool.
That's different. And by the way, we cooked on fire. In fact, I cooked Saturday night for everybody, and that was I cooked tenderloins, and it was just on an open fire. It was great. But anyway, all right. So what are we doing here today?
Well, you tell us. Oh, hold on. Batman on film, authoritative, definitive. Rick,
the Dadgum original.
Dadgum
Original. I need to order my shirt for the Justice League watch party in Austin. My Dadgum shirt. I need to do that today.
Yes, you better get on that. All right. So yeah, this is your idea, actually. So
okay. So here's the deal. We'll tell everybody. This was not planned. In fact, this was very much on the fly. This was put together barely 2 hours ago, and I reached out to Justin and Ryan. Fortunately, Justin was able to squeeze it in. Ryan couldn't. But Bill and I were just talking about, hey, he's off today, and I had a little window. Let's squeeze a show in, and we were just bouncing some ideas off each other, what to talk about. Like, I don't want to talk about this or that. Why don't we let's talk about let's walk through each cinematic Batman. I'm talking about from Warner Brothers' 1989 film with Michael Keaton all the way to Batman v Superman with Ben Affleck. And let's just talk about our favorite things about the actors that played the role of Batman, Bruce Wayne in those films, not necessarily about the movie themselves, because here's a little sneak peek. Batman and Robin, I think, is just kind of a ridiculous film, but I really like George Clooney in the role of Batman. So I wanted to talk about what I like about him as Batman. So I thought we would just walk through and do each of the cinematic Batman actors and talk about what we liked about them and where they kind of rank.
Yeah, and I think before anybody says, why not Adam West, Well, I love Adam West as Batman, but we've done several shows with all about Adam West as Batman, so I would recommend that you go listen to them. Yeah.
And I would even say that, it goes without saying, Adam West is the greatest. And what else can you say?
That's right. He's the greatest. And, there were two other actors before him, to be fair, as well.
Yes.
Right? That played Batman on film. We're just talking about the first
40 serial. So yeah,
that's right. And there were two different actors that did it. But I'm talking about just from the first Warner Brothers Batman film in 1989 with Michael Keaton all the way through Ben Affleck. And I thought it would just be fun. Let's just let it rip. So I'll take over the little hosting thing here, Justin. Okay. So tell me. I know we have a difference of opinion on Batman Returns and all that, but again, this isn't about the movie. What are your general, when you think of Michael Keaton as Batman, what comes to mind? What triggers you?
Yeah, to me, it's the classic iteration for me. It's what intrigued me the most about Batman. Like, I grew up on the Adam West stuff, like everybody pretty much has, but Michael Keaton was the one that really drew me in. I mean, I was a kid during '89, so it brings all the memories of '89, back. And, but he kind of defined what Batman sounds like. I mean, cinematically, he kind of made that voice. Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman when you think about it, but in the movies, on film, it's that low whisper that I'm Batman, that type of
yeah.
I don't know if that was his decision or Burton or what. It probably was a little bit of both, but that is something that's big to me. That really, as a kid, I think I was 10 when it came out. It was almost scary, but a cool scary. Dang, Batman's a scary guy, Right. And then just the way Keaton looks, his eyes, he had to act with his eyes and God bless, he's got the greatest Batman eyes on film. No one has better eyes than Keaton, and he's got those blue eyes. Traditionally Batman's had blue eyes in the comics, and I think the last Clooney and let me see, Bale. and Affleck have brown eyes, and there's something about blue eyes in that mask when they pop against the black makeup and everything. And Keaton had them, dude. Keaton had the best eyes, and so there's just something when you see him that's intimidating. Maybe he's not the tallest Batman, but it didn't matter. It's just how he composed himself. And that's why every time you do one of these lists, it's so hard, but it always comes back to my first like Batman on film, and that's Michael Keaton.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because Justin brought up the voice. I don't remember, like when I was a kid reading comics, when my Batman's voice in my head, I don't remember what that sounded like, but ever since Batman 89, that's kind of the voice I hear when I read Batman comics is even frankly over Conroy. I just like that whisper type of, gravelly voice that Keaton came up with,
When I think of Batman voice personally, the first thing that comes to my head, that's cinematic, of course, okay? Because we'll stick with that, is I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell your friends about me. That scene, that moment, that to me is like the definitive Batman voice, period. End of story. Probably will be to the day I die.
Yeah. That's making me laugh because we watched that movie probably when we did it for the show. Me and my youngest boy, we watched it before he prepped, and he loves quoting that part. And they both do the voice. They go, I want you to do me a favor.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's so great. And I still love at the end of Batman when he's at the top of the cathedral with the Joker and Vicky Vale, and he drops his Batman voice completely.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Just completely Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right. So what if you could just think of just two things real fast? What is your favorite moment with Keaton as Bruce Wayne and your favorite moment with him as Batman?
Is that to me or to all of us?
No, to you. We'll go.
You know what? I really like the scene in Batman Returns where he is going up against Max Schreck in the business room.
Ooh,
I kind of like
that's a great scene.
It's this kind of this power play between him and Schreck, and a little bit of his detective work. He's kind of calling Schreck out on his crap, and so I like that. And again, I like the first. I kind of like the scene in, going back to 89 in Wayne Manor where your first introduction to Bruce Wayne, how he's so aloof. It's weird because you don't think of Batman being aloof, but it's like he's so focused on like, what the heck's going on with Vicky Vale? Like, she's intrigued him, and either he's really like aloof or he just trusts Alfred to take care of him there.
Right.
Like, when he's in Wayne Manor, Alfred takes care of him. And so he's just relying on Alfred to be his, that's his like Robin in the Batcave. Like, you got my back. I don't got to worry about anything here. I kind of like how he played that. So
cool. What's your favorite moment with him as Batman?
Oh man. Well, like that rooftop scene we just talked about, that was, I mean, that whole scene was super, definitive of like who Batman, in cinema is at that Batman on film. There you go. At that time. And especially they do that close up of his face when he's pulling the guy in after he throws a batarang around him. There's that close shot up on his eyes. Like, Burton really framed that whole scene really well. When you break it down, there's a whole bunch of nice angles he used.
It's awesome.
I don't have a single issue with any of the scenes of Batman in those two films, except for the end where he rips his mask off. I hated that scene.
Where his makeup's gone from his eyes also. Yeah.
Other than that,
All right, so here's the deal. There's 4 cinematic Batmans for the purposes of this podcast. Where does Michael Keaton rank as Bruce Wayne, and where does he rank as Batman to you?
Batman, he's number 1 as Batman, and his Bruce Wayne's probably like 3.
3? All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, what do you think, man? I know, Bill, you and I'm a little older than Justin. You're a little older than I am. I'm kind of more or less in between age with you guys. But one advantage maybe we have over Justin as being just a few years younger than me is that when it was announced that Keaton was going to play Batman, I mean, I was reading it in the newspaper. I was a freshman in high school, And I remember just being taken back, going, "Mr. Mom, what, Beetlejuice?"
Well, I was a Keaton fan before he got Batman role.
Oh, me too. Me too. Absolutely.
Night Shift is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's where I discovered Michael Keaton. And I was kind of one of those who went, Michael Keaton, and I initially, and I've said that before, I remember clear as day, I was at a Walden Books at Central Mall in Port Arthur / Nederland, Texas, and I would go there and I'd read Comic Scene or Starlog off the shelf, because I didn't want anybody to know that I liked that kind of stuff because I was, whatever, 20, 21, whatever I was.
Yeah, you didn't think it would get you laid, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well.
Right?
Hey.
Okay. And, but yeah. So,
but it's true. You're hiding it from women.
You hide it. I mean, it's not like it is now. It's
right.
And now it's, all this is cool, I mean, that's such different than it was 30-something years ago. But, I remember reading that and thinking, they're fine. Because I always wanted that live-action Batman movie, that dark and serious. And ever since I saw the Superman the movie in 1978, I said, they got to do this for Batman, And I remember just thinking, really? And I thought they're going to do a parody or a remake of the 60s TV show. And it was like a few months later when I remember doing the same thing at Walden Books in Central Mall. And I see that first picture they released of Keaton as Batman where he's in front, he's next to the Batmobile and it's all black and all that. And I went, yeah, that's pretty cool. So, my favorite scene as Batman would probably be, how can you beat the I Am Batman introduction from Batman 89? But a scene I think is really awesome is when he's in the bell tower and he's walking away and then he turns and they pan up real fast on his face and his...
Yes.
Yeah, I love that, just that shot from the film. And as Bruce Wayne, I would say... I kind of like his interaction with Knox and Vicky Vale at Wayne Manor during the party, when he says, Alfred, get Knox a grant, so.
That's my personal favorite too. It's hard because the scene with he and Selina in Batman Returns is also fantastic, but there's just something about that scene. And I think my favorite part is like, so what is this? When he was king of the Wicker people? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's Japanese. And look at him. That's how he introduces himself in the room. Like, how would you know? Because I bought it in Japan. Yeah. He's just cool, The
only thing that bugged me about that scene is that I'm thinking, no one knows who Bruce Wayne is, reporters. So, especially Knox, if he's been in Gotham.
But maybe there's something
elusive,
Yeah, maybe there's something to that. Clark didn't know who Bruce was in BVS, so maybe there's a pattern there, guys.
Yeah, we made fun of that too, and also, yeah. Anyway, all right, we're not gonna make fun of it. We're not making fun of anything today. So.
No, we'll make fun of a few things. Come on, we have to, right?
Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah, I think it's required. So, all right.
So where does he rank for you out of the 4 as your favorite Bruce Wayne, and then your favorite Batman, or where does he rank?
Number 2 is Batman.
Okay.
And, well, there's 5, right?
There's Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney,
Affleck, Bale, sir.
Oh, Bale, of course, there's 5.
Jesus. Wow.
Rick's fired.
Wow.
This is a drop. So much of a drop.
There's 5.
Yes. As Batman 2, as Bruce Wayne, golly.
Well, you know what it is for me?
4-ish, I guess.
Bale is number 1 for me on both, right? And in my head, I'm counting I'm counting everything but him, so you have to forget.
Yeah, whatever.
It's out of those 5.
Getting ahead of the game. All right, so that's Keaton.
Okay. That's Keaton. All right, so here's mine. I already jumped the gun on my number 1, but I want to explain my little screw up there. Here's the deal. Keaton is number 2 as Bruce Wayne. Number 2 is Batman. My favorite Batman moment, my favorite Bruce moment, I've already mentioned. It's kind of a tie between that moment with Knox and Vicky, and then also with Selina at the party when they realize who one another are. The kiss under the mistletoe can be deadly, right? But as far as my favorite Batman moment, I think it's in the Batcave with Vicky Vale when he brings her. And Justin talks about his eyes, and I talk about this on the Batman 89 commentary too. Yeah. And Justin's absolutely spot on this, is that
the light across his eyes and that's all you see.
He's the definitive eye actor Batman. Yeah. And then like when the lights are showing his eyes, he's psychotic. Well, some people say the same thing about you. what people, and there's so much going on with his eyes and everything. Like even that what people it's defensive and it's curious. And that's just, I don't know if that was directorial or if that was.
Man, I think what Burton was doing right there is he was doing an homage to Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Because there's a scene in Dracula where they start the panning on him and it's his eyes, man. They do this like light on the eyes. It reminds me of that. So
yes.
I know you're talking about.
Look, I absolutely love him as Batman. I know it will never happen. But if somebody wanted to do a Dark Knight Returns or some film and bring him in, I would be all for it. It's unfortunate that there was a big change, but that'll set up our segue. So after Batman Returns in 1992, the studio decided to make changes, maybe because that film was terrible. I'm just kidding, Justin. But anyway, so they had to make changes, and for the reasons they saw fit, they brought in a new director, which is Joel Schumacher, who at the time had done films like Flatliners and some others.
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys, thank you. One of my favorites. Probably my favorite film by him. But Flatliners was also good. But anyway, they made an overall aesthetic change. And Michael Keaton wasn't keen on the changes and sort of left. And then in came Val Kilmer, who at the time, I think probably was most famously known for, what would it be at that time, 1995?
Tombstone.
The Doors and Tombstone. Right?
I got in Top Gun.
Yeah, and I think the Doors and Tombstone mainly because they were so iconic. Like, he was Jim Morrison.
Well, that's what I love that movie, The Doors. But
I don't like the movie, but I love his performance. I'm a big Doors fan. No, and I can get into it. That's a separate podcast, sir. It is. I don't. And I
guess I'm talking more about his performance as Morrison was fantastic.
It's flawless, and he should have been nominated for best actor for that role. And then, of course, his role as Doc Holliday in Tombstone.
Well, that's what got him the part.
Yeah.
And I tell you this, that if Keaton would have came back, they planned on Keaton coming back. They started making costumes with Keaton's body mold and facial mold, and they actually cast Rene Russo as Chase Meridian just because she was closer to Keaton's age. But there's also a little bit of Schumacher wanting his own Batman there too that comes into play. It wasn't like they were upset that he left, or I would say, Schumacher, because he said many times he'd already thought about Val Kilmer as Batman, especially in Tombstone. So anyway.
Right. Hey, here's a little fun side note on Tombstone, too, just for some cinematic history. The film Wyatt Earp that Kevin Costner played, starred in, and then Dennis Quaid was Doc Holliday, was actually in production before Tombstone was in production. It was planned. It was already filming. It was an epic film. It took longer to film and whatnot. It was like a 3-hour movie, I believe. And then Tombstone kind of snuck in there and stole the thunder away from not only kind of the premise, but as great as Dennis Quaid was, it was so apparent with the box office numbers and how people responded to it that was only like a year after that movie came out, and no one cared about Dennis Quaid's Doc Holliday. Val Kilmer took it, owned it, ran with it. It's his, right? And no one ever talks about Dennis Quaid's Doc Holliday, which actually is very good. Anyway, just a side note. So back to the casting. So then in comes Val Kilmer. Now, again, this isn't about the movie because Batman Forever is obviously a contentious chapter in the Batman saga. But as far as just him as an actor and him as Bruce Wayne Batman, I really liked. Justin, what were your thoughts of Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne Batman?
Yeah, I liked his Batman. There was a lot of scenes, and I don't know if this was part of it, but I feel like Kilmer and Keaton have a similar lip structure in The Mask.
Yeah.
There's that scene where he jumps off the elevator where he takes out the Two-Face guys, and there was a cut on his face where I'm like, man, he looks like Keaton in that mask right there,
Right.
But yeah,
more so than any other combo of actors that I can think of.
Yeah. You know what? He seems like at that time the most comic book version of Batman, in my opinion. His Batman voice was pretty. I liked his Batman voice. It was, it was deep. It had a little bit of a graveliness to it, but it wasn't as mysterious as Keaton. Keaton was mystery. I feel like Kilmer's was more of like the heroic public Batman.
He's got a great voice. Kilmer.
Yeah, he does.
He does. I mean, remember when they brought Knight Rider back on TV? He was the voice of Kit, the car.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. What's that movie where he plays like a Russian spy and he has like 9,000 different accents and everything? I can't remember. Elizabeth Shew was in it. Yeah, but he's great. But I'm going to go back to that for a second because what Justin just said was like you hit a home run. I want to explore that a little bit.
Brilliant.
It was brilliant. You said it was brilliant. You said Michael Keaton's voice was mystery and Val Kilmer's was more public heroic.
Yeah.
Let's just end the podcast now. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Well, in the movie, there's a part where, Chase has this collection of photos of Batman. Like, he's in the press all over the place, and they're not far away shots. They're like up close, Batman controls who sees him. No one sneaks up on Batman to take photos. He knocks you out and takes you back to your apartment. That's what he does. He gets the film back. So in this iteration, it felt like, he's a little more of the public guy. He's there in front of the crowd. They're waiting for him. They're like, it's Batman. He's here. And so it's kind of like Lego Batman. Like it's a spectacle. Batman's going to show up. He's going to stop Two-Face. And so this Batman is a little more comfortable in front of everybody.
Well, he's in the courthouse in the middle of the day and trying to save Harvey. He's just sitting there like in the jury. He reaches over to try to save Harvey.
I enjoy his Batman. His Bruce Wayne didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
He seemed awkward.
So out of the 5, where does his Bruce Wayne rank? Where does his Batman rank?
His Bruce Wayne's like 4.
Okay. And his Batman?
Yeah. His Batman's probably 4 as well.
Could you say that you have a favorite Bruce Wayne Val Kilmer scene though?
I did like the time where I like where he busts into to Chase's apartment. It just, to me, it was just funny that he has the back and forth with Alfred on his watch. He's like, he's all, leave me alone. What are you doing? He took the car.
Car.
So that was kind of, I just thought that was a fun scene. It wasn't like this breakthrough. Like, I thought the stuff that was dramatic was kind of cornball, to be honest. I didn't buy any of it. Like, I'm sad and my parents, I didn't buy it from Kilmer at all.
Yeah. And, okay, and then forgive me, did you actually say what your favorite Batman Val Kilmer scene was? Was it the elevator scene you were talking about?
No, I don't know what my favorite Val Kilmer Batman scene. You know what? When he comes out of the fire.
Yes.
After he goes off, that part he just looks like a pissed off Batman, and you don't want to be, you don't want to be around him. That whole sequence when he breaks into the party, like, I always like a good Batman crashing through a skylight, takes out the guys. So that whole sequence between, defending everybody in the room to right before like Robin saves him, that whole part was pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Okay, cool. All right, Bill, what do you think? What do you think of Val Kilmer's Batman?
I like him. I like Batman Forever, actually. It's got a soft spot in my heart. I guess my favorite Batman scene, I love the whole opening sequence with the safe and all that. Even though the guard is annoying at times, my shoes are melting and all that. I like Kilmer in it the whole time, that's my hearing aid. Thanks. I like all that. I think it's a good, very cool opening segment. It's very 50-ish comic book Batman to a certain degree, but I like it. And as Bruce Wayne, I like that scene with Chase Meridian in her office with the Rorschach. I always have a hard time with that word for some reason, and even though it's a comic book character and from Watchmen, but about the bats and then the dream catchers and all that. I like that. And let me see. I like when he meets Edward Nygma at Wayne Enterprises. I'd probably go with that. I'd go with that. Yeah.
You know what? You know what I like about that scene is that it's because we didn't get this in Batman and Batman Returns, but you actually, I guess we talked about the Matt Schreck boardroom scene, so there's definitely Bruce in his element. But this was Bruce as the CEO of Wayne Manor or Wayne Enterprises, right? He's actually at his company walking around, and there was something cool about that. And and one of his employees runs over to him and shakes his hand, and I like that dynamic, and it was the first time we got to see that. And so, and to give Schumacher credit, Schumacher did introduce us some things that we're missing from the first two films, Arkham Asylum, Wayne Enterprises. So that I appreciated that part of it.
That was. Oh, you know what I did like? I like when.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I like when he took his office pod to the Batcave. As ridiculous as it was.
You know what? I like that too. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It beat. I'm not trying to knock Batman Returns, but I didn't like the whole thing when he got into the mummy and put his hand down the aquarium. Like, I preferred the Batman 89 stuff, and so that to me kind of made up for that. That was cool. I like that part too. For me overall, and let me ask you, Bill. So where did you give your rankings? And forgive me. Where does he?
As
Batman? Where does he rank for you as Bruce? Where does he rank for you as Batman out of the 5 cinematic Batmans?
Okay. I said Keaton was 2. He's probably 4. I guess 4. Okay. And as Bruce, I liked his Bruce Wayne. I thought he was the best, most physically suited Bruce Wayne. More than Keaton. I love Keaton, but I'm just talking about aesthetic. And I didn't think he was bad in the role either when he did Bruce, but maybe I would still say 4 with that, but it's maybe 3 or 4 somewhere. There's no knock on him if I even have him there. It's just, I guess, 4-ish as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's really what this is, because somebody with a pen and paper might find us contradicting ourselves as we're going along here. But you said Keaton was number 2. Now, yeah, I'm just trying to get just a reaction, So for me, like, I think of Val Kilmer's Batman, and it's the same thing with George Clooney's, and I'll talk more specific about that as we get to him. But I think what a great actor, what a great Batman and Bruce Wayne. It's unfortunate that he wasn't in a better movie, and that's a compliment to him. And my favorite Bruce Wayne scene with him, quite frankly, when I get past the whole thing that Dick Grayson's like 24 years old and should have his own apartment, but when when Dick shows up after his parents die, and that whole scene between he and Bruce, and he takes him in to show him the cars, and he's sort of he's warming up to him, and
yeah, that's good,
and he's manipulating him a little bit, baiting him to stick around, and he shakes his hand, and yeah, I've got some bikes around here that sure could use some fixing up, and maybe you could even keep one if you stuck around, or whatever he says, something along those lines. It's just it's very suave, it's very cool, and dare I say, it's even a little like kind of quasi fatherly, and I like that. He shows some good chops in that. And then as far as Batman, it's hard to say because so much of it was kind of corny, but it wasn't his fault. I like the conversation he has with Robin. I don't like his suit in this scene, but I like when Robin is in his Robin costume and they have that whole conversation. He says, "What does R stand for?" And I thought that was great. But if I had to choose one, I think it's got to be probably the fire moment, man. He is pissed, and it's the best use of his eyes that he does in that whole film as Batman as well. So probably that. And as far as my ranking goes, I think he's a really good Bruce Wayne. Until Affleck, I thought he was probably the most kind of comic book Bruce Wayne. Probably Val Kilmer out of everybody, but Affleck sort of took that away from him. So I don't know. As Bruce, he's probably 4. 4, and his Batman's probably, and his Batman's 4, as well. So, but I like him in the role. I wish he had been in a better film, but I appreciate his contribution to Batman, right? Yeah. All right. So then after that movie, Joe Schumacher came back because it was a hit, and it kind of did everything it fixed everything that the studio thought was wrong with Batman Returns. And they came back. I just said the studio.
Hey, look.
Yeah, I know.
Batman Forever was a huge hit, and people don't realize that who weren't around then. It was a huge hit.
It was a huge hit. So then comes Batman and Robin, and that's when things really went off. That's when Joe Schumacher just went off the rails, right? But
so did Warner Brothers.
So did Warner Brothers. That whole thing was just goofy. There's nobody that disputes that. But here's the thing. We still had George Clooney, who was coming out of a success. I guess Kilmer just didn't want to do the next one. He didn't get along with Schumacher, whatever. I don't know the whole story, but who cares? The point is, George Clooney was riding high from ER.
Yeah.
And he was a huge TV star. And back then, a TV star was a bigger deal than it is now because it was, there's not really, TV stars now are more like people that were already movie stars doing Showtime and HBO stuff. But he was a real big TV star for the late 90s.
Yeah, you didn't have that back then. Very rarely did you have a quote unquote movie star, film actor do TV. You know?
Right.
Now, now it's commonplace.
Right. So there he was, George Clooney. So where does he rank with you, Justin? What are your favorite scenes with him, and where does he rank?
Oh man, I'm really trying here. I think all of his Batman stuff was pretty terrible. There was one cool shot where he captures Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze is kind of knocked out. It's on a building. It looked more like a
when his cape is actually up.
Yeah, his cape. His cape's up.
Yeah, he looks like Batman. Is what he was.
Yeah, it just looked more like a photo shoot. To be honest, it just looked like a cool here's a really cool visual representation of Batman. It's the most Batman thing he did in the entire movie. You know, other than that, he just seemed like a Ninja Turtle. I mean, the whole movie. That's what he felt like to me, from the fighting to the lines to everything. So there wasn't really anything that stood out to me as his performance as Batman, which is a shame because I think Clooney could have been a fantastic Batman. And that's the sad thing about the casting and the entire script, the whole movie, the whole purpose of this film was not to make a good Batman movie. It was to sell
toys, merchandise.
Happy Meals and toys. And he was the most, man. And this is not an insult, but it's like when they made the Adam West films, they intentionally knew what they were doing. With this is, people will say Batman and Robin is more akin to the Adam West series, and I think that's a complete misdirect. And just because it's fun doesn't mean it's Adam West. This wasn't tongue in cheek. This was just cornball and bad. There was no reverence for the character in this. This was just goofy in all aspects of the movie, and it's super disappointing and you know what? He takes it on the chin. He blames himself, but it's not Clooney's fault. And that's the other part. Like, I would like to be clear. It's not Clooney's fault that this movie is bad. It's Warner Brothers. It's not even Schumacher's. This was Schumacher's job, was to make this movie. I don't even think he had it. He was told, hey, make a commercial. All right, that's what I'm going to do. You know, and he did. He did what was asked, and it's on them.
You know, so, I know we're going to talk about the movie, but it's basically story beat. Or story-wise, beat for beat, Batman Forever, just sillier and goofier.
Find and replace.
Yeah, and so but he would have been a great Batman. You can imagine him in a serious, noir type of
because he's got a great
Batman,
voice.
Batman movie where Batman's in his prime and 30ish and. But that, how that ship sailed 20 years ago,
didn't happen. But it's Bruce Wayne. He's got good Bruce Wayne scenes with Alfred.
That scene with Alfred and Alfred's in bed is great. But hey, it has the best scene of any Batman movie ever is, of course, is the Bat credit card scene. Don't leave home without it. How can you not rank that right up there? How did that miss our greatest comic book scenes of all time?
You got me on that.
Oy vey. It's so hard. It's so hard to have. We're truly trying with this exercise is to talk about the actor and their portrayal and not the movie. But it's hard to separate the two sometimes because they are victim to the film itself, and it's hard.
I'll give him this. That scene at the end when he convinces Mr. Freeze to give him the antidote and help him save Gotham is it's okay. It's not horrible.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's awesome and good, but it's not bad,
Yeah, take 2 of these and call me in the morning.
You ruined it with that, yes.
Yeah. Right. Well, okay, but let's do this. Can we all agree on this? And because unfortunately the movie's so empirically bad, it's hard to really talk about it. Let's cap it like this. George Clooney, great actor, good-looking guy, good-looking Bruce Wayne, could have been a great Batman. Sadly, he wasn't given anything to work with, like virtually nothing. Batman-wise, he had nothing to work with. The scene with Alfred and Bruce when he's talking to him and he's sick, that's a beautiful scene, and he hits it out of the park. And so I think we can take that little scene and say, hey, there's a great Bruce and Alfred scene in this movie, and that's kind of that's sort of the what it leaves behind, right? That's its sort of stamp on the Batman franchise, right? Because can we all safely assume that Clooney's Bruce Wayne and Batman's probably number 5 for all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman for sure. Yeah.
And again, it's nothing against Clooney. He's great, but that's just unfortunately where that's at. That movie's just so bad. Unlike Forever, where Val Kilmer did have some stuff to work with, he was cheated out of that. So, okay. So the one good thing that came out of Batman and Robin was the fact that the franchise died, and of course Chris Nolan brought it back in 2005 with masterpiece.
That franchise didn't die completely. That run, the Burton Schumacher, continuity anthology, dead as a doornail. Absolutely.
Right, and that's what I meant.
The fear was, the personal note. The fear was that it killed the franchise, and it's actually why I started Batman on film, so to make sure that the franchise lives. So there you go. Throw in a little antidote about Batman on film.
There you go. There's your little shameless plug. I love it. All right, so Nolan brought Bat from the either dead or on life support, however you want to phrase it. Semantics.
Yes.
Okay. So he brought it back, and of course, there we got the Holy Trilogy from there. And the gentleman that was cast was no other than American Psycho Christian Bale. So, Justin, when you think of, other than just thinking about the masterpiece and flawlessness of The Dark Knight Rises, sir, what do you think of when you think of what do you think of when you think of Christian Bale's Batman? What's your favorite Bruce Wayne scene, Batman scene, and where does he rank?
Oh, man. Okay, so you said Bruce Wayne. My favorite Bruce Wayne scene is him walking down the corridor of Bruce Wayne's apartment, where he's busting apart that gun, where he's getting ready to oh, man.
Dark Knight.
That's the most.
Dark Knight, Bruce,
Yeah, sorry, in The Dark Knight. That's my favorite scene of Bruce Wayne, because that's who Bruce Wayne really is. Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he's just waiting to dress up. He's waiting to get the gear, and right there, his brain went into, he's not faking the public Bruce Wayne. That's who he is, and he's going to take care of business. And it was cool. It was just such a cool move. Takes that dude out, takes his gun, breaks it apart. It's almost like he doesn't care if anyone finds out he's Batman right there, because he has to go into protection mode.
Right.
And so I love that scene.
Yeah, me too.
So,
yep. What about your favorite Batman moment?
Oh, man. It's gosh, it's not gonna be one scene, but it's gonna be kind of like, it's in Batman Begins, and it's from that first scene at the docks where he's just taking everybody out, and then it kind of, culminates with him perched up on that. There's that shot of him in in Chicago on a building. He's kind of perched, and the way the music swells and the camera wraps around it. That shot.
He's on that,
great. I mean, that right there,
kind of statue up on the building type. Yeah, that shot. Yeah,
he's just standing. Yeah, he's just on top of some building, and it's probably the best shot. I remember when I saw that, I was sitting right next to my friend Chris, who got married in Vegas. What's up, Chris? We were sitting right next to each other, and we just kind of looked at each other like, that was awesome. That scene right there. So that kind of encapsulates who his Batman was on screen for me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Where does he rank? Where does his Bruce Wayne rank and his Batman rank for you?
Oh, man, that's hard. So I think his Bruce Wayne is number 1 for me. I think Bale was the best Bruce Wayne that we've had on film. He really, I think, because again, he plays the three.
He plays all three. I was thinking the same thing, Jeff.
Yeah,
yes, he does.
Yeah, he plays public Bruce Wayne. He plays private Bruce Wayne, and he plays Batman Bruce Wayne. Kind of the Bruce Wayne I was just talking about, the one going down the hallway. So he's got all 3 of them nailed. So I think he did a great job at that. As Batman, yeah, that's a back and forth. I think he's 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just, I love him. I love him in the part. Absolutely love him. I know you do as well, Bill. So what do you think, man? What do you think of him? Where does all this lead for you?
He's my Batman on film. Period. He is. Yeah. It's just, it's definitive. It's my Batman too. That whole Batman Begins, the whole trilogy is right up my Batman sensibility alley. Oh wow, favorite scenes is in both. I guess the end of Batman Begins as Batman. I love that. Him. No, that's from Dark Knight. I'm thinking on the rooftop with Gordon. He taps the bat signal nice, and couldn't find any mob bosses and blah blah blah, and then of course he jumps off the roof and after he says, "And you'll never have to," when Gordon says, "I didn't thank you." That's a great Batman. There's so many. Good. Just so many.
I like. You know what I also like about that scene too is that you see him smirk a little bit for the first time in the cowl, right? Yeah, and it's when he's talking to Gordon at the end of Batman Begins, and it's great, man. It really is great, and you'll never have to. And let's just say this: that voice he did in Batman Begins is my favorite Batman voice. My second favorite would be Michael Keaton's, and because even though I love The Dark Knight and I love The Dark Knight Rises, and I'm not mad at his performance in those films. It's beautiful, but the voice thing does get carried away. We've talked about this a lot, but his voice in Batman Begins was just perfect. It was perfect.
Yep.
Just real quick about that, you got to blame Nolan. If that's one of that's a valid critique of the Dark Knight trilogy is Bale's voice at times, but I mean, Nolan was the director and could have toned it down or whatever, and they did alter it in post-production. They never explained the fact his voice was supposed to be modulated, and whatever, but they didn't. They ended up doing that with Affleck's Batman and BBS, but that's a different story. But favorite Bruce Wayne scene may be the end of The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is like picking your favorite kid.
What is it? You talking about when he's in the cafe, the restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. Just the look on his face.
The whole scene is.
I wish they would have put. Look, that scene is one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever, and so I don't.
And he's Bruce Wayne in that scene, so I have to give it as a Bruce Wayne scene.
So to even knock it a little bit kind of gives me the EBGBs, but I kind of wish he would have been like. I kind of wish he would have been sporting a beard, just something where he was a little bit in disguise and he wasn't so like obvious that's Bruce Wayne and.
Yeah. As long as reporters aren't there, they can't tell.
Well, no reporters know who Bruce Wayne is, so why does it matter?
Yeah, I suppose
that's
a good point.
Right? Knit effing pick there, Rick Shew.
Well, it's just one of those things where you see it. It's a perfect moment, but he's. I mean,
I didn't even cross my frickin' mind until you just brought it up, and it's he's clean shaven. He's frickin'.
Did I ruin it? Like I ruined?
No, you didn't ruin it. It's awesome.
That terrible kid actor at the end of The Dark Knight. Did I ruin that too?
Shut the hell up! It's like, I mean, it's you take it to when he first met Selena, and he's disheveled and got a beard and has let himself go, and now he's Bruce Wayne, free and clear, and he's clean shaven, and he looks nice. He's happy.
Hey! I'm going to give you credit because you pulled that out of your ass, and you got lucky with that. But that actually kind of makes sense. But we'll move on. Go to hell. When I think of Christian Bale, he's my Batman. He's my number one Bruce. He's my number one Batman. Period. But the reason that he works, we talked about he played all three parts, and there's some moments in The Dark Knight where he does them all within just a matter of minutes, and it's really cool, fun to watch. Like he's on the helicopter, he lands, like, everybody, we've got Harvey Dent here, everybody, and he's pointing at Harvey. He's got that kind of cheesy. It very much sort of reminds me of his of Patrick from American Psycho, right? It's the same kind of like public smirk,
Wayne, for sure.
Just douche, like frat boy douchebag kind of thing.
I mean, you see that too, Rick. You got that. That's awesome. You got in Batman Begins when he's eating dinner, with he swimming in the pool, the fountains, and all that. That's very reminiscent of that. But yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah. Anyway, he said, "Well, I'm gonna buy the hotel if he pays for it and all that." And then in that moment, he's walking out. He's Playboy Bruce Wayne. Then he bumps into Rachel, and then he has to show his vulnerability and everything. Or when he has Rachel comes up on the rooftop in Dark Knight, played by a different actress, I might add, and he dumps out his champagne, and then how about when he's sitting down at dinner with Harvey, with his date, and with Rachel, and he's playing sort of the playboy douchebag Bruce Wayne, but then he gets kind of serious.
Yes.
And he's looking at Harvey, and that's when you kind of see it happen. It triggers. He says, "This is my answer. This is my way out.
This is my way out of Batman." Yeah.
And it's subtle, and you don't really know it until the film's over and you reflect back on that moment, but that's what was going on there.
Awesome.
It's beautiful foreshadowing. So yeah.
He's the best actor to play Batman to date.
As an actor. Yes, for sure. But as far as Batman, there's so many, and like some of it revolves around for instance, I just love in Batman Begins where he flies down and it's towards the end and he just sort of turns himself into a bat and he crouches down. He's got his cape and it ends here. You know, just something that's so menacing and like he didn't do that in the other films where he really like perches and just curls up and becomes like a visual looking bat, and you didn't see that. Or when he crouches and Gordon comes outside and just little things and he says storm's coming. I don't know, I just love all that. Or the scene with Rachel on the L train and there's
too many.
Falcone sent those guys to kill you.
Yeah.
Like you, somebody that'll rattle the cage, all that. Oh, it's just awesome. So yeah, so it's hard to pinpoint, but I think probably Batman Begins is where my favorite Batman scene comes from, and Dark Knight's where my favorite Bruce scene comes from. So as far as my ranking, they're number one. All right, so
yes,
Dark
Knight,
Dark Knight trilogy ended. Now let's go into a film that we've all obviously had disagreements about and whatnot, but it was Zack Snyder's Batman versus Superman, and Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, and obviously there was a lot of people that were concerned about him being cast in that part. He is in my. No, I know. I'm just talking about general.
I know.
Public. He was, in my opinion, he and Gal were the best things about that film, and I don't know. So Justin, I'll throw it at you because I don't want to get ahead of myself. When you think of Ben Affleck as Batman, what are your thoughts? Where does he rank? His Bruce, his Batman. Go.
Yeah, I really like his Batman. He's my number 2 Batman on my list. So I got Keaton, Affleck, Bale. I think he feels like he stepped off the page. Whereas I said Kilmer kind of felt like a comic book version. Like Affleck actually feels like the comic book version. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. It probably sounds like BS, but Affleck just looks and feels like the dude I've been reading about. Now, some of the character interpretations are not Batman at all. You know, there's some stuff, but that's where the character is in this story. And so again, this isn't about the film. This is about how I feel he comes off as Batman. He's menacing. He looks scary. That scene, the introduction to him in the film where he's in the like hotel rescuing those like the people being trafficked. When he's up in that corner and the cop sees him, I'm like, dude, that's Batman. There he is. And so I thought that was a great opening shot of him. And then when you go to my favorite scene is the Martha rescue where he just takes everybody out. That thing was awesome. That was just a great scene. So Bruce Wayne scene, I feel that I love where he goes up against Clark Kent at the party, or he just kind of intimidates him. He's like, hey, son, don't believe everything that you read. And he just kind of tries to use his... it's almost like Bruce Wayne's using everything he has right there. His size, because he kind of puffs himself up a little bit to intimidate Clark. He goes a little like, oh, do I own that one? He's kind of like being kind of a jerk. And then he gets serious because he doesn't... At that point, he's like, I don't like Superman. I don't like anything that he's about. And I'm going to let you know. So, yeah, that's my favorite Bruce Wayne scene for him.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I like him and Diana go back and forth, too, that where he kind of, after everything has kind of changed and he kind of has a different perspective, I like the moment he has with her. It's actually a really good scene to close.
I absolutely love the ending of that movie, and I love everything from kind of Clark's funeral on and everything that they talk about and his narration as it's showing Superman's funeral and everything. It's really pretty gorgeous. Yeah, okay. All right, Bill, I know that you're not a fan of the film, but you like him in the part. We all hope he comes back and all that good stuff. So just, what do you think? What do you think?
Well, I'll reiterate that I was not one of the ones who freaked out when he was cast. I thought it was great casting. I have been wanting Ben Affleck to be part of a Batman movie in some capacity for 20 years, and I'm being serious, going back to when he was in his 20s and they were talking about doing year one. And of course I want him to direct, but that's, again, that ship sailed too. So, he is the most physically suited actor aesthetically to play Batman to date. That's just the fact of the matter. I would rank him, he is 3 on my list of Batman. If I had to go Bale, Keaton, Affleck, Kilmer, Clooney, and I could almost flip-flop Kilmer and Affleck as Batman on my Batman list. As for Bruce Wayne, he is 4. I would go with Bale, Keaton, Kilmer, Affleck, and then Clooney. I think my favorite scene as Batman would be him, the warehouse scene when he's fighting. I mean, that's pure Batman, of course. He was not in that scene very little. He was just up in the close-ups. It was a stunt guy doing most of it. But I think it was a good depiction of Batman. And I like as Bruce Wayne, I'd go with Clark at the party, Lex's party, too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, an interesting choice on that. All right. Cool. Man, I think about...
Don't believe everything you hear, son.
Yeah, don't believe it. Yeah, I like that because I don't like that part at all. That's why I found that interesting that you did. But that's okay. So look, yeah, I think he's great, and he's number 3 for me on Bruce and Batman. What's interesting when I was doing this exercise sort of spontaneously is I didn't even plan to ask these questions in terms of the ranking. It just sort of came to me, and that's why I kind of fumbled with it at first too, because it just sounded cool. But what I have found is that Bill, I think our rankings are exactly the same. Affleck's number 3 for me. And my Bruce and my Batmans are the same. Whereas Justin actually has that a little different. He'll have Christian Bale ranked a little differently with Bruce and Batman.
Yeah, my Batman and Bruce are the same. It's Bale.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily like I consider that really a coincidence, because that could go the other way. I can see that, like, that makes sense to me that could happen. So, but I think that Affleck is, I think he's got a lot of, for a film that I'm not crazy about, man, there's a lot of great moments in that film, and a lot of them are because of him. And I love the speech he gives Alfred when he's talking about, and if there's if we have to, an iota of uncertainty, then we have to take him out. We have to, what's next? Millions, thousands already dead. All that speech is strong. It's really good acting. It's really Bruce. I love seeing Bruce run into Metropolis, and that's like one of the most badass Bruce Wayne scenes in any Batman film, when buildings are falling, and he runs into it to save people. That's amazing. And we always talk about Snyder being a visual genius, and he's also a casting genius. I mean, his casting is just so far just so perfect in these films. And Affleck is just a damn good Batman and a damn good Bruce Wayne. And I love, my favorite Batman scene is easy. This one's easy money. I frickin' love when he goes into Lex's cell at the end. And he's like, wherever you'll be, wherever you go, I will find you. And he's so pissed off, but he's also showing restraint, which is something he didn't do very well in that movie, as the character. But that was a choice, and there's going to be an arc and all that stuff. But I love that scene. It's just, he's angry, he's pissed, he looks cool, and I dig it. I love it. And as far as my favorite Bruce Wayne scene, man, I had one, but gosh, Justin, I don't know. I may have to go around towards the end as well, but it's hard to say. I think I'm going to stick with my favorite Bruce Wayne scene. Honestly, I'm going to go a different direction here, because there's a lot of emotions in some of these scenes, and he pulls them off well. I actually really like when you're first introduced to him as Bruce, and he comes down. It's after he frees those women and all that stuff, right? And and the cops are shooting at him, and he's like an actual bat up there. And anyway, but he comes down on that elevator and into the Batcave, And Alfred's just down there working. And there's something just about his presence. And he's very confident and he's very Bruce. And he walks over and he sits down and they just have a conversation. He's like, we're criminals, Alfred. We always have been. I know it seems like a simple scene, but I like it because I really got the impression that he and that Alfred have been together for a long time. He's tired. He's exhausted. You can see it shortly after that. He goes over and looks at the Robin suit. And I think there was just a lot going on there. And I think he did a really good job. So he's number 3. So it's Bale, it's Keaton, it's Affleck, it's Kilmer, it's Clooney. That's where I'm at.
All right.
Cool. All right. This was fun. Let's wrap this bad boy up, man. Let's do some plugs. We have some plugs to do. Anybody want to plug anything? Justin, you got something to plug?
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, just check out letsgocast.com if you want to listen to some more focused comic book shows. We got the Let's Go comic show and then just the Let's Go podcast where it's all over the place with pop culture. So check those out.
Right on. Follow me on Twitter, Shewrick, SHEWRICK. If you haven't listened to our last Star Wars show where we dissect The Last Jedi trailer, that is episode 95. Check it out. And this Saturday, we are recording, finally, our Rocky podcast. And we're going to talk about the entire franchise. This one might be a long one. This could be an hour and 45, 2-hour show, but we want to do it in one show and talk about every movie. So just hang in there with us on this one. I think it'll be worth it. Zaki Hassan is our guest. It's going to be awesome. That's all I have. Bill?
Announcer Rachel will give you my plugs, where you can find me and stuff. But I will say, check out the new Patreon page for the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm. One word, Batman on Film. And if you are so inclined, contribute. It does help go toward, well, it does. It goes toward the cost of the podcast and running the site, which is can get kind of expensive. So would appreciate that. If not, just keep listening anyway. Whatever. So
it pays for Rick's rehab.
It pays for Bill's beer drinking, his beer.
Also, the BOF Justice League
yes,
parties.
Yeah.
Gotta promote those.
Yes. Pasadena, California for Justin.
Yeah.
Austin, Texas for Rick and I. Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina for Ryan, which is really, I think it's actually in Cary, North Carolina, which is a suburb of that area. Then we have Peter Vera is in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And Chris Clow is in Skokie, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. All screenings are going to be on the 18th. That's Saturday. They will be in the afternoon. Is that what you're planning on doing, Justin? Like a 3 or 4 or 5?
Yeah, we're going to meet up
like that.
Yeah, we'll probably meet up at around 3 o'clock and then whatever, probably a 5 or 6 p.m. showing whenever the tickets go.
And speaking of that, apparently Friday is when they go on sale. So everyone will let me know what screening they're going to, and I will post it on Batman on Film proper. Plus, we'll tweet it out and Facebook it and all that stuff too. And so you'll know what screening to get your tickets for. That we'll all be watching together in one of those 5 locations across the United States. And that's all I got.
All right, cool. So announcer Rachel will take us out.
And we'll catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Jett.BatmanOnFilm. Email Jett via Jett@batman-on-film.com. Follow Rick on Twitter at ShewRick and on Facebook at facebook.com/BOF-Shew. For Jett, Rick, Justin, and Ryan, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.